Hey guys, welcome back to Warcraft 2 Academy. This is episode 2, The Basics of Warfare, continued from newbie to warrior in two videos. I was going to try and do it in one, but after a day of reflection and getting some feedback from you guys, I kind of came to the conclusion that I needed to make another video here to kind of cover everything. I thought I could do it in 2 hours, but apparently not. So we're going to go for, I don't even know how much longer this is going to take, but we're just going to dive into it here. So basically the ultimate guide to Warcraft 2 for new players. Now, in this video, I've actually got another overview. So I'm going to basically touch base on a few things I mentioned in the first video and maybe go into a little bit more detail. A few things I maybe forgot to mention, and I'm also going to get into some more statistics and yeah, just kind of how buildings work. And anyway, so the overview here, we're going to go over some additional controls, building stats, Death and Decay versus Blizzard. So I wanted to get into a bit more detail about those two spells and how they work. Transport tricks, so you know, for sea battles, there's a few things I didn't really mention with that. We're going to talk about hopping units around, and so that'll be, you know, hopping from one island to another, just general peon hopping and grunt hopping. We're going to talk about building placements and walling off. I didn't get into too much detail on the first video on that. I'm also going to talk a lot about towers, you know, their attack priorities, the tower bug, and try and explain that to you guys here. I'm going to host a multiplayer game, and then I'm going to get into neighbor wars, or basically, you know, battles where you're in close proximity to your opponent. And I'll get into a bit on that too. Probably not as much as some people might like to see, just because it's a pretty broad topic and there's a lot to cover there. So anyway, so I've kind of prepared a few games here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into the client here. And I'm actually just going to load up a game. And I'm going to start with, I've created a few saves here, just kind of me messing around on maps, and just so I can kind of quickly show you guys some things here. So anyway, on this map, I guess the first thing we'll start with is transport. So a few things I didn't quite cover in the first video was, you know, I was talking about these destroyers and their value. Now, one thing I didn't really touch on is how they're actually really good at killing transports, because they have the same speed. As you can see here, they're moving at the same pace. Now, if all you have are battleships, you can see there's a difference in speed here. So if only battleships exist, then you're going to have a harder time tracking down transports because they can get away from you. So when you've got control of the sea, it's probably good to have one or two of these out there anyway, just to tackle transports, and then of course be prepared for any dragons or griffins as well. Also, I don't know if I really mentioned about scouting with oil tankers, but usually it's a good idea with your first oil tanker, just like a lot of times it is with your first peon or your peasant, to get around and scout the area and find out where your opponent is. So that's a good strategy to use. Now, one other thing is, you'll notice my transport here is stuck in this river. And one thing I wanted to talk about with transports is they do have a lot of more maneuverability than other units. As you can see, he can slide right into this little river here, whereas your battleship cannot get in there no matter what I do here. And neither can your oil tanker. And the reason is because transports have the ability to kind of slide on the shore, so it gives them a little bit more mobility. And sometimes you really have to kind of click around to get him to go where you want to go. But if you angle your mouse click correctly, he will eventually get to where you want him to be. Now, with that said, sometimes your transports can actually get stuck. And yes, it's just something to be aware of as well. Now, there used to be a transport trick in the old version of the game where, like, if you were stuck, you could load up your transport and then use, like, the unload function to kind of move beyond getting stuck. And honestly, there aren't too many maps that kind of put you in that kind of situation, but you can actually block in transports. Let's see if this works. So, for example, if I dock in here, See, I can't actually get out because I'm blocked in. So that's actually a strategy that you can use. Sometimes it only takes one ship to do it. But yeah, so that's a way you can use your oil tankers later in the game. Maybe if you don't have much oil, you can just kind of use them to kind of scout around and keep them around the map. Yeah, because oil is one of those things where once you've got control of the sea, I mean, you know, you're probably going to be pretty good on oil anyway. So, you know, making use of those units as scouts is maybe more beneficial in a lot of cases. So anyway, so yeah, just kind of wanted to cover that a bit. And one other thing with transports too that I did not mention is, and actually a very good strategy to use is invisibility. So, and actually I don't even think I really showed that spell in the first game here, but you can actually cast invisibility on a transport ship, and that way you can actually move through the map undetected and land in your opponent's base and get some blizzard off, as we see here. Anyway, yeah, so as you can see, invisibility lasts quite a while. So not only was I able to do that, but where my transport's still invisible, I'm able to make a getaway at the same time. So now let's get into blizzard and death and decay here. So what I've done here is I've just kind of set up a huge amount of units, and as you can see, they're 7 rows by 7 rows, and I put a few extra on the side in this 8th row here, just the range of blizzard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pick this guy here. I'm going to target him. He's right in the center, and I'm going to cast blizzard on him, and you're going to see what happens here. So blizzard basically has a range or an area of effect of 7 by 7, as you can see here. Even though none of these on the top died, they did actually take splash damage. And again, on this side here too, but none of these on the 8th area took any damage at all because they're outside of the range of the spell damage. And you'll notice the top and the left area did less damage. And if you do this 100 times in a row, that will always happen, because as you can see with blizzard here, I'll just cast in the middle again. As the shards of ice here, they come down, you notice they have like a bit of an angle to them where they're going down more into the lower right area. And so that is actually reflected in the damage that it does as well. So one other factor that you can look at as well here, I'm actually just going to reload this game here just to kind of demonstrate this, but whenever you do cast blizzard, in this instance here, you're going to get a different result pretty much every time. So I'm going to go ahead and cast it here, and I'm just going to hit stop, and I'm just going to let it not quite go through the whole cycle. I actually only did one cycle there, but you can see one cycle actually did pretty significant damage to a particular area. Now, when you do cast blizzard, and at the end of my last video, I actually thought I ran into a bug there, but what it was is that I cast blizzard on some paladins, and it didn't do any damage, but it actually did a very minor amount of damage, but I just actually didn't even notice the damage that was done. And so I thought there was actually a glitch there, but it was actually doing damage. But sometimes, basically the damage is randomized when you cast a spell. So certain areas of that 7 by 7, or well, the main damage points are going to be within the 6.6 radius, or 6 by 6 radius, and within that 6 by 6 radius, it's going to be random where the most potent points of damage occur. Because what happens when you cast this, and this also applies with Death and Decay, is that there's basically one area where a lot of damage is going to occur, and then that will do splash damage around that one particular area, and those areas are random. So they, depending on when you cast a spell, you're always going to get a slightly different result from it. Anyway, so with that, basically, yeah, I just wanted to cover that. And one other thing I actually wanted to cover as well here is damage to buildings. So one difference between Blizzard and Death and Decay is that Blizzard does more damage to 3 by 3 buildings, and so buildings are either going to be a 2 by 2, which is going to be either a farm or a tower. They're going to be a 3 by 3, which is pretty much everything else, or a 4 by 4, which is your town hall, and that's the only other building that's, or that is the only building that's 4x4. So if you cast Blizzard on pretty much any building besides a farm or a tower, it's actually going to do more damage than Death and Decay would. On the flip side of that, Death and Decay is going to do more damage to farms. So you can see here, if I cast Blizzard on these farms, again, that same principle is going to apply, where a lot of the damage tends to kind of go down and to the right. But because this is within that 6x6 range, we're not seeing any of that weaker splash damage on the outsides of these farms here. But you can see this one pretty much went untouched. Now, if I were to go ahead and cast that again in that same area, you can see in this case it's actually taking more damage just due to randomness. So yeah, and then another thing to consider too is when you are casting on buildings, so you can't, like if they're set up like this, you can't actually select right in the middle to have this spell encompass that whole area. So what you'd want to do in that case is you're going to want to basically click on the closer one to you, and that's going to bring the spell's range back, where it's actually going to get more efficient damage on all 4 of these buildings. Yeah, so, and actually one other thing too is Polymorph is kind of fun because, so this is a wasteland tile set. Now, if you notice in my last video, I turned my unit into a sheep with it. Now, if you use it on a different tile set, you actually get a different unit. So in this case, you get a warthog. And yeah, so you get different critters based on the tile set that you're on, which I think is kind of fun. Yeah, so anyway, that pretty much covers that. Now, I guess one other thing I did want to talk about here too is when you are playing a water map, if you can, you always want to build your foundry in an area like this. And the reason that you want to do that is because it's kind of hidden away from the ships. So if you can make your foundry inaccessible to your opponent, there's no reason your foundry has to be on, you know, the on the shores of the ocean. If you can put it in a little river, or just any water you can find on the map that's going to protect it, that's a good thing to do. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and build that. And actually, while I'm doing that, I'm going to show you another trick here, and this is called island hopping. So basically, if you have a river between 2 islands like we have here, and you build either a shipyard, an oil refinery, or a foundry, you can start building it, and then because of the nature of how buildings or how units pop out of buildings, because this area is all blocked off by the edge of the map, my unit, and yeah, so my unit's actually forced to go down. So you can see how I've actually moved to a different island by canceling that building. Now, when you do that, if that's your objective, you may actually want to do that with an oil refinery, because when you do cancel any building in Warcraft 2, you lose 25% of the resources that it costs to build that structure. So where oil refineries are actually a little bit cheaper than shipyards and foundries, it's actually probably more economical to use that if you plan to do an island hop like this. And you do see that in, there's quite a few maps, which by the way, this map that we're looking at is called Oil is the Key. It's a pretty fun water map. And yeah, so anyway, with that, I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about on this map. All right, so now we're going to go ahead, and I'm just going to go ahead and go to my options here, which you can access with F10 or also escape. Gonna hit load, and then I'm gonna load my my other little map of craziness here. So all right, so in this map here, basically I'm gonna try and show you a few other things as well. First of all, I'm gonna show you basically what I just showed you with Blizzard, although in this case it's gonna be with Death and Decay, and you're gonna actually see the difference. Now, one thing to keep in mind as I'm using these spells here, so you've got 255 magic at maximum. Now, with the new remaster version, they've changed the amount of magic it costs to cast Death and Decay, so it's actually 30. It used to be 25. Blizzard is still 25 mana, so every single cast is going to be 30 mana. And now what that means is that instead of you being able to cast it 10 times as you can with Blizzard, the cycle of full magic is only going to happen 8 times. So with that, you're going to actually just notice a difference just because of that. So if I go ahead and I cast in the middle here, now when you have this much mana, it's usually more than enough to take care of, you know, most units. But as you can see in this case, yeah, it actually left quite a few units here. And the reason isn't necessarily that it is weaker against units, although it actually is weaker against units. Death and Decay is, I've actually been told 10%. I don't know the exact, but we'll just say 10%. And yeah, so it's a little weaker against units, and also restricted now to 8 casts instead of 10 on full mana. So I mean, it's still highly effective for what you want it to do, but as you can see here, the amount of units left over is fairly significant compared to what it was when I did the same thing with Blizzard. Now, as we're talking about that, Death and Decay is, like I mentioned, stronger against 2x2 buildings. So you can see here these farms. I'm just going to go ahead and cast in the middle here, and you'll see it actually, even though it's only 8 casts, despite that, it's still doing, you know, pretty significant damage. If it was 10 casts, you know, I'm sure these 4 flaming farms would have been destroyed as well. So I'm actually just going to reload that here to kind of show you guys that again. And again with Blizzard, when you cast this spell, you're going to get those kind of random factors where it's going to do direct damage in certain areas, and then or splash damage in other areas. So in this case, I think we actually did a little bit better than the first time. So, you know, again, every time you cast that, you're going to get a bit of a random result. I mean, more or less the same, but it's always going to vary a little bit. As we can see here, as we do this again, you know, we didn't kill as many farms here. The damage was a bit more dispersed, where in the first attempt, only I think 2 of the farms barely took any damage. In this case, only 1 didn't really take any significant damage. And yeah, so anyway, so I wanted to talk about buildings here too. So this damage output that we're talking about here with magic, it's pretty much ignoring, you know, armor value. Now, one thing to keep in mind with buildings here, and I'll just kind of show you here with these towers. So, all right, guys, one thing I forgot to go over in my last video that you remind me of is multicasting. So you can actually multicast spells in this game. So the way you do that is you basically select the same type of units that are spellcasters. So this will work with Ogre Mages, Death Knights, Mages, or Paladins. I think that's it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to select a group and then hold control and hit 1. So that's going to create the control group. Then you'll select a unit in that group, and then you're going to select the spell you want to cast. So I'll just do Whirlwind here. And then once you selected the spell, then hit 1 to reselect the control group, and then cast a spell. And you'll see that we've casted Whirlwind 12 times here. So we'll actually go ahead and do that again here. So we're going to go ahead and select that spell. I'm going to hit 1, and then we'll cast it into our group of units here. And you can see it's pretty devastating. And yeah, so this will work with any spells that basically can stack. So it's not going to work on Bloodlust, but it will work with Heal, etc. So if a spell kind of stacks, then you can actually use this strategy. So we'll go ahead and we'll do it again. So we'll choose Raise Dead, and then there we go. We've got an undead army here. Well, at least some undead of an army that with what we had left over for dead corpses to raise up anyway. So, and yeah, we'll see that these skeletons actually do pretty good damage to buildings. You can see this building's going down pretty quick. So yeah, they've increased their I believe their attack damage and also their health from the original game. So they're yeah, they're not bad, actually. Not bad units these days. So anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to show you that as well here. And I'm actually just gonna go over all the hit points of all the buildings here. Now, on this watchtower here, you can see it's got 100 health, and then it gives you the option of upgrading, of course, to either a guard or a cannon tower. Now, the guard tower has 130 health. Now, you'll notice that the watchtower doesn't actually have any stats on it, but the guard and the cannon tower do. So, you'll see here it's got an armor of 20, and then it tells you the damage and the range and the sight. And then again with the cannon tower. Now the cannon tower has 160 health, so the cannon tower is a little beefier than the guard tower, which is a little beefier than the watch tower. So just something to be aware of. Now, with this armor of 20, now this applies to all buildings. So every building in Warcraft 2 has an armor of 20. And if you're wondering how I know this actually, or if you're just wondering about stats in general, the way you can look at these and the way I've kind of looked them up here is if you go into the map editor, you can actually look at the all the parameters of all the units in the game. So it'll tell you what their piercing damage is, their base damage, etc. Anyway, so going back to the 20 armor. So what the 20 armor actually means here is, let's see. So I've got an ogre here, and he's got a max of 16 damage, and then I've got a grunt here, and they're both level 5, and he's got a max of 13 damage. So let's see what happens when we go ahead, and I'm just going to go ahead and attack these farms, and I'll actually give the ogre a head start here. Alright, so let's just watch what happens here as these this ogre and this grunt attack these farms. Now obviously an ogre is much stronger than a grunt, you know, just based on the stats. But as you'll notice here, they're pretty much even keeled. They're actually killing the building at roughly the same pace. And the reason for that is because of the 20 armor on the building, that they're only basically doing a minimal amount of damage because they don't even have enough damage to compensate for the armor of the building. So they're basically just doing a minimal amount of damage. Now, if I were to, let's see, have any... I had some, yeah, okay. Alright, now, because axe throwers and of course archers have piercing damage, we're going to go ahead and see what happens when and I'll give the ogre a head start here. So, as you'll notice here shortly, is even though this ogre is attacking faster, the axe thrower is actually doing more damage, or actually keeping up with him. And the reason, even though he has you know, fewer overall damage, and this is a fully upgraded axe thrower, is that most of this axe thrower's damage is actually piercing damage, so it actually ignores the farm's armor. And yeah, so you can see here the axe thrower is actually better at killing the building than the ogre. So that's one of the changes that they've made in Remastered here, by upgrading the attack damage of axe throwers and archers, just they're by default, and then along with the upgrades as well. They are much better at killing buildings, and that's something to keep in mind as you're playing the remastered version, and that's going to change tactics, generally speaking, as you're you know, playing the game competitively online. And it does open up a lot of different avenues and strategies that you can use, especially earlier in the game as you're trying to break into, let's say your opponent's trying to take 2 bases at once. So that's something that's pretty cool anyway. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about here too is kind of some more advanced controls. So now I've got these 4 axe throwers selected here. You can see they've all got the portraits up here. Now you can actually just click out one of them here. So if you've got one that's got low health, you can just kind of do that. So that's one other way to control units. Kind of basic, but I don't think I mentioned that. And another thing is you can control them with the mini-map. So instead of me saying, oh, I want to send these in the middle of the map and then having to come up here and click up here, I can literally just click on the mini-map and they will go to that location. So again, something that you know, not too advanced there, but just something to be aware of. And I also talked about stand ground, which you use with T, and that's where no matter what happens, the units won't move. Now you can also use the S key for stop, and so just to be aware, so if you're moving somewhere and you just want them to stop immediately, you can use that key. So another thing I want to talk about here actually is so we've gone over towers and how they have armor and alongside with other buildings, and actually we'll just talk about that really briefly here too. So so here we've got a bunch of 3x3 size units, and you can kind of see here, so your blacksmith has 775 health, Your barracks has 800. Your lumber mill has 600. Altar Storm 700, and then 500 for your temple, dragon roost, and goblin alchemist, respectively. So, and along with your ogre mount. So you've actually got 4 buildings here that only have 500 health. So that's just also something to keep in mind. You know, if you're maybe about to get sappered, let's say. Now, a sapper it takes 2 sappers to kill any one of these buildings. And just one other thing to keep in mind with that too is that if you have, let's say, a sapper that's come and detonated one of your buildings and it's half health, if you just repair that building a few times, then the second sapper, assuming they have another one coming, will not finish off the building. So just a little tip to kind of keep in mind here. All right, so now let's talk about towers a little bit more in detail here. And so we mentioned we're looking at the range of the towers there. So the guard tower has a range of 6. So what that means is that anywhere beyond the outside of this tower is going to be 6 spots away it will be able to reach. So in this case, this tower will reach this axe thrower, but it won't actually reach this tower. And this applies all the way around this tower. So if you had 6 spots up here or over here, it doesn't matter. It'll hit those units. And but again, it won't hit this tower. Now, and actually, while I'm on that topic, I'm going to talk about tower priorities. So a tower, whether it's a cannon tower or a guard tower, you can't control what it's going to attack. So it has a list of priorities that it's going to follow, and you cannot change that. It's going to do what it's going to do. But it's important that you're aware of what those priorities are. So the first thing to understand is that it's always going to prioritize units over buildings. And except for in the instance of this tower bug, and I'll go into that here in a little bit, but we'll talk about the priority of units that it will attack first. So first and foremost, it's going to attack, and of course this is only applicable to the guard tower, any griffins or dragons. So they're number one thing it's going to attack. After that, it's death knights, and then after that, it's and by the way, as I'm saying this, you know, the human and orc equivalent. So death knights or mages, or griffins or dragons. So griffins or dragons, and then death knights or mages, and then it's going to be knights or ogres, and then footmen or grunts, and then down the list from there, it's sappers, so or demolition squads. So basically, something to know is if you have, let's say, a bunch of guard towers, like in this particular instance we're looking at here now, and let's say you're like, oh man, I don't know how I can break that. Well, if you send in any of those units, probably grunts or ogres, in advance of your sappers, they'll act as fodder and cover your sappers, which have very low defense. And that way your sappers actually will be able to get in and detonate those towers if that's what your plan is to do. So just something to keep in mind. Now, after units, then it goes into buildings. So they're basically going to prioritize towers. So if there's no units around, they will first target opposing towers. So a guard tower, a cannon tower, and then a watch tower. After that, it's going to go to a town hall, which or a fortress or whatever, your main hall basically, and then from there it goes down in the other buildings, you know, your barracks, etc. But that's also something important to keep in mind, because if you put a tower in your opponent's base, let's say, and you, for whatever reason, you want to kill their barracks first, it's not going to do that. It's going to kill their, assuming it's within range of the tower, of course, it's going to kill the town hall first. So anyway, so we'll go back here and we'll talk about this range issue a little bit further. So again, these towers won't even reach each other. Now, I've moved them here, and all these axe throwers are just here basically to signify how many spaces are between these towers, just so you can hopefully understand this and kind of follow along. So now here we've got 5 spaces, so they are both now within range of 6. So they will actually reach each other, And both, if these two towers were attacking each other, you'd be able to safely repair them from the opposite side with a peon. So now we go down to the range of 4. So now, basically, what happens is they're still actually going to be able to attack each other, and you can still safely repair from either side. Now, where the tower bug actually becomes an issue here is when you get within 3 spaces. So now one thing to keep in mind here is, so your tower is a 2x2 building, like I was talking about. Now, with a tower bug, when another tower is upgraded within range of your tower, something weird happens in the game where by default, you can almost say that the attacking point of the tower is just going to be in the middle of those 2x2 areas of the tower. And so in terms of units, it's going to hit that range of 6 everywhere. But when you have another tower within range, an enemy tower, what happens is that point of attack, like the area of the tower that's attacking, it actually turns into the top left corner square. So if you've got, let's say, 1 square here, and then down here, and then over here, this top left corner is actually where your attack is going to get based from. So what happens in that case is that the range changes on the tower, where if it's on the right hand side of a tower that's on the left, then it's actually going to have an additional range, and that's what the tower bug is. So in this case, this tower, the attack point would be up here, right? So if we count the spaces here, so you've got 1, which is basically where this is. So your range is going to start over here. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then 6, which would be the other side of the tower. So this peon is actually safe to repair this tower, because the range for this tower, because it starts at the top left, it gets cut off at 6 range, which basically ends it here. And now with this tower, because it's basically got a positional advantage, and the top left of the tower is here, and so your range is instead of this counting as 1 range on this tower doesn't have that issue, because it's already on the top left. So the range starts here, so it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So it's actually going to kill any peon that's repairing the tower on this side of the tower. Now, this also applies going upwards as well. So basically, if we were to build another tower here and put 3 spaces between it, and we go ahead and we build this tower, and we'll just move these guys out of the way. So, from there, just to show you. So now what happens is the tower bug is applied again, and the reason now is because, again, it's on the top. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So again, this tower is going to win, because this tower will get shot, or this peon will get shot by this tower. Where on this tower, again, because it's on the top, it's got that extra spot that it has to accommodate because of the bug. So the range starts at the bottom of the tower. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then again, this peon is safe. So basically, the tower bug, it benefits the tower that's going to be on the right and or on the bottom. Now, this also applies to cannon towers, which I've set up the exact same situation over here with cannon towers. Now, the only difference, well, there's 2 differences with the bug with cannon towers. The first is that cannon towers actually have a farther range. They've got a range of 7. So basically, this cannon tower, just like my last example with the guard towers, so this cannon tower actually won't reach this tower. It would reach this axe thrower, and vice versa. This would reach over in this. And again, that range of 7 is going to apply all around the tower. And the attack priority with cannon towers is the exact same, except, of course, like I mentioned with the griffins and dragons, where they can't attack those. So now we get here into the 6th position. So basically the cannon tower is going to reach this tower, and this tower will also reach this tower, and you can both safely repair those towers. Now, when we get into the 5 range, this actually it affects cannon towers a little sooner, because the other difference with cannon towers as opposed to guard towers is cannon towers have a splash damage. So even though this peon can safely repair this tower, and this peon can safely repair this tower will, because we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to hit the left side of this tower at its max range. And then it also does splash damage. So what will happen in that case is that even though you're not getting directly hit by the cannon tower, it will do splash damage in the area that it's attacking. So you can work around this by having your peon at an angle, and that way it will avoid the splash damage. But that is just something to be aware of. So if you are in a tower battle with 2 cannon towers and you're taking damage, consider that it might just be the splash damage. Now in this case, we get down to where the tower bug is getting applied. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. So your peon's in that range of 7. So you cannot attack or repair this cannon tower. However, this cannon tower can attack this one, and because we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's going to be hitting the left side of this tower. So again, that splash damage is something to be considered or worried about on the right hand side. But because of the fact that you're going to be able to kill any peons no matter where they are trying to repair this tower, you know, it's not going to be as big of a deal. So yeah, anyway, I just want to kind of go over that now. What else did I want to go over here? I did want to talk about hopping. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of set up a base here. So let's see. How can I do this? I forgot I can't build walls in this. Okay, see, yeah, we'll just do like a... So this example is probably not overly practical, but I just want to kind of show you a concept here. So let's say that do I have any more peons around here? These two. So usually you wouldn't want to build your barracks like this, but yeah, I just want to show you kind of how this can kind of work. So essentially what's going to happen is we want to get a unit. See if this even works. We want to get a unit down here. So you can actually, because of the way units pop out of buildings, you can actually kind of... Oh, never mind. He went up there. This might take a minute. Anyway, while we're waiting for that, I'm going to actually just... So basically what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to build enough buildings around this barracks so that when this unit pops out, it's actually going to pop down here. And this isn't the greatest example, but I just wanted to kind of demonstrate the concept, and we'll see if it works. Yeah, so as you can see here, so let's say you've got an opponent who's down here, and there's better ways to do this, but again, I just want to kind of show you the concept. So let's say you've got an opponent down here and he's kind of walled off this area so you can't actually get down to attack him. And let's say you want to kind of surprise him. Now you can actually have a unit up here, produce units, and they'll actually pop down into his base. And there's a million different ways you can do this, but it's just something to be aware of. And you basically just have to block enough spaces around where your unit's going to pop out, because what will happen is, so any unit, it's always going to start at the top left. It's going to go basically counterclockwise around the building if there's an open space. But if it's being blocked, then it's going to go to the next section. So the left-hand side of this farm, for example, and then it's going to go down here. And if that's all blocked, then it's going to go over here, And as soon as it has an open space to pop that unit out, it's going to do that. Now, the only exception to that is with your shipyard. So if you're actually trying to build ships and everything's blocked, you'll actually just get an error message saying something like your unit's unable to pop out or whatnot. Anyway, so with that, I just wanted to show you as well a few kind of popular wall off and ways of building your base and building placements. So I'm going to start down here actually. So this is a pretty common one in a lot of maps where you've just got a wide open space, let's say, right? And you've got a town hall. So in a lot of cases, what you want to do is you want to create your own little kind of barricaded tower using your own buildings. And so this is a pretty common one. So I'm building a farm on either side here, and now I'm going to build a tower in the middle. And then you may want to maybe, let's say, put we'll say a barracks, and we'll just say 2 barracks. So now you've got this tower. It's completely protected by 2 barracks and 2 farms, and we can go ahead and upgrade that to a cannon tower. Now, in this particular situation, you're going to want to have that as a cannon tower because it has that range of 7. It's actually going to let me see here, just to kind of demonstrate that. So your cannon tower has a range of 7, and it's going to basically start right here, right? So where this peon is. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops. 7. So this cannon tower will reach all the way to here, and that's important because this is where all your peons that are mining gold are going to be within range of this cannon tower. So basically, this cannon tower, not only is it protecting all of your structures, it's also protecting your gold mine peons. So this is always a good way of protecting yourself, especially if you're a newer player and you're kind of, maybe you're getting killed early in the game. This is a pretty good strategy to kind of avoid that. And it's also great if you're rushing. So let's say you just got a bunch of grunts and you're wandering around the map, and your opponent comes in and he attacks you while you're not home. It's going to be very hard for him to break through this. He'd need a pretty big army, or he'd need a lot of siege units, either a lot of archers or axe throwers to take out that cannon tower, or of course catapults or ballistas. So I'll show you another pretty common wall and strategy here too. So let's say you're up here. Now, as you can see here, you've got an area where you can actually wall off your base here. There's no roads running through, and by the way, these roads here, of course you can't build on them. So like if I try to build something here, you can see that red, that's basically saying, hey, sorry, you can't build here. But let's say, for example, you're up here and you can actually wall off a few ways, but in this case, let's say we're just going to put a lumber mill here, and then we're going to put a guard tower here. Now, you could have actually put a farm there and then put a tower farther back, but because this positions you on the left side of the map, and because of that tower bug I was just talking about, it's better to have your towers a little bit more forward facing, because you are susceptible to the tower bug. And actually, on that note, I did want to just talk about one other thing with the tower bug here. So let's say you're in let's say you're in this position, right? Either of these positions. Let's say you got a tower here and you can both attack each other's towers and you can both safely repair. Or here, the same thing, you can both attack each other's towers and safely repair. Well, if you're on the right hand side, what you can do is, and going back to how I mentioned the priorities for towers, they're always going to attack a guard tower or a cannon tower before a watch tower. So what you can do here is let's say these 2 towers are shooting at each other. Well, and I'm repairing here. Well, I'll probably want to continue repairing. So I'll bring another peon up here to give you a better visual aid of this demonstration. So let's say this peon is just repairing this tower as they're going back and forth, and they've got a tower that they're repairing here as well. I can take this peon, I can just go ahead and build a tower right here. Now, while these towers are firing back and forth, this peon, when he runs in there, he will get prioritized by this tower and he'll take a hit or two. But if he can get in there and just get that tower built and then start upgrading it, this tower is going to ignore this until it completes upgrading. So what will happen is you'll keep going back and forth, you're repairing, but while this tower is upgrading, unless your opponent does something about it, it's going to finish upgrading, and then it's going to be within lethal range of this peon repairing and, of course, the tower. So then not only do you have an additional tower attacking this one, he can no longer repair this tower, and that way you can basically use the tower bug to push forward on your opponent, and he can't do anything about it. And you can do the same thing with cannon towers. And it's actually a little easier when you're dealing with cannon towers, because cannon towers kind of like a catapult when it attacks, and it's going to attack where your unit was at the moment that it targets it. But because it's basically a bullet, like a missile, it's going to overshoot if a unit's running towards it. So you can essentially avoid cannon tower damage. And that's also something to consider when you're repairing and you are actually within, the tower bug range. Is if you time it right, you can actually move your peon from repairing and kind of like ninja dodge the damage that the cannon tower is going to do. But it's not that reliable. It takes a lot of micro and a little bit of luck, so it's not that reliable. But it can hopefully keep you your tower alive long enough, maybe that you can get a ballista in behind it to do some more damage. So anyway, going back to our wall off here. So as you can see here, there is a bit of exposure on this tower, but it's kind of minimal. So 2 units will be able to repair this cannon tower, which isn't actually that big of a deal, because it is something you're going to want to keep on top of. But essentially, let's say I got 2 units coming up here and attacking this tower. Well, they can't do enough damage that I can't safely repair through it. So you can actually safely repair through that with one peon repair. And for the most part, you're going to have to bring in another one to kind of get it back up. But basically 1.5 peons can hold off these 2. Now, with this wall in here, so yeah, your base is pretty protected and it's pretty economical defense. So this would be like a minimal defense. This isn't going to hold off like a big attack or anything, but if you just need something really quick and you only got 2 peons and you just need to wall off fast, I would do this. Ultimately, you would want to have more buildings out here, maybe a barracks right in front of this. And the reason for that is because this is quite susceptible to like a sapper attack, and this is one of the main reasons people make sapper. So you get into these ogre rushes, like a kind of a timing attack at Tech 2, where certain players or anybody really, what you can do is, instead of upgrading straight up to fortress, you can take those extra resources and make some extra ogres and a sapper, and then make a kind of a mid-game push on your opponent. And a lot of times, especially if they're not expecting it, can be quite successful, because they've invested their resources into continuing to upgrade or whatnot, and you haven't. So you've really made a really focused effort on making a lot of mid-game units, so the ogres and sappers. So what you would do is, so a sapper can blow up a tower in one shot. So you could go ahead and blow up this tower right here and then take a good chunk out of that lumber mill. But what you might want to do instead is, you might want to get right here, and instead of actually hitting the lumber mill, because your ultimate goal is you need to get into the base. This is kind of your time to attack, right? So if you hit the tower here and blow it up, not only have you killed that, you've also opened up an extra slot there for your ogres to get through and start attacking your opponent. So because of that, you have a better chance of them not being able to wall off, because what your opponent's going to want to try and do in that particular instance is, if they can see it coming, they're probably going to have a peon here. As soon as you blow up that tower, they're going to want to, just rewall the base. And that's obviously the one thing you don't want to happen. If that happens, then that could just lose you the game right there. So yeah. Anyway, So another build order I wanted to kind of show you here is, so let's say you're up here, and so you can see here you've actually got a road running through your base. So you can't actually wall this off. And by the way, this map is the old Garden of War. And so this is a map that a lot of old Warcraft 2 players are very familiar with. It's one of the maps that they pretty much play all the time. It's a fantastic map, but the new version of the Garden War doesn't have these roads, but in the old version they do. Anyway, so what you can actually do here is, let's say you just got, so if I was starting here, I'd probably have my buildings kind of set up like this. You know, I'd have a few barracks here, I'd have my blacksmith up here, and then I'd be building farms. And yeah, so this would probably be a decent opening for me on this particular map. Then I'd be pumping out peons, and this actually is the probably the best mining position you can get in the game, because your town hall is as close to the gold mine as it can be. It's angled downward, so you don't have clumping up of peons. A lot of times, if your town hall is more level, like horizontally with the gold mine, it creates more friction while your workers are trying to go back and forth between the gold mine and your town hall. Anyway, so in this particular instance, you know, we're going to be rushing. Like, a lot of times what your strategy is in the game is going to be dictated by the position that you're in on the map, and what benefits you can gain from the terrain, the surroundings of your starting location. So in this particular instance, we've got this little area of road here that we have to deal with. We have to be able to protect ourselves with. And the only way to really do that is to clog it up with units. And so what I'm actually doing here is I'm actually using the forest, or the grass around this road, to kind of structure myself a positional advantage. And so this is where you can basically, you know, in conjunction with the deficit that you have, you know, use buildings to your benefit and place them in a way that benefits you. And so if I have these 3 grunts here and I hit T for stand ground, they're not going to actually move anywhere. So if, let's say, somebody comes up in here and attacks, you'll see there's 2 spaces here, and I have 3 grunts. So you've basically funneled them into this little choke point here. And so when they do attack, they're going to have to face 3 units against 2. So you're going to win that battle. Even if they have more units than you, they could have, you know, it's kind of like, you know, the Battle of Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings. You know, you've got this giant army, but your defenses funnel them into a small section, and so you're able to defeat them. Now, of course, this isn't foolproof. What a smart opponent will probably do is they'll reverse this on you. So they'll actually set up their grunts like this, and now they've got a grunt attacking this farm, and they've also got 2 grunts attacking this farm. So this strategy definitely has a downside to it. And actually, I may not have even wanted to build this farm here, because this limits how much workers I can actually repair this farm with. Because if they were to do this, they may also have other grunts, so they could bring another 3 here, and now I've got 4 grunts attacking this farm, and I only have a short area. I only have 4 spaces where I can repair it, which is probably enough, at least for a while. But what you're going to want to do in this case as the defender is you're going to want to make some axe throwers if they do that, because you're basically going to want to have your base wall, your choke point up here. As they're attacking your farms, you're going to make axe throwers to fend them off. And yeah, and you're probably even going to want to upgrade them with the new advanced balance changes in remastered, where you've got additional piercing damage that you can get quite fast and cheap with your lumber mill. In any event, that's going to send them back, and they may bring their own axe throwers or archers up to counter you. But anyway, and of course, another option you have here is you could build a tower. Now, I could build a tower right here, and that's going to kind of cover this whole range here. Or what I would probably prefer to do is put it up here, because, and actually, I could even put it right here. You know, if I put a cannon tower, let's say right here even, that's going to cover this choke point. And then it also allows me to be able to wall it off here. So I can actually just put a farm here, and I could build, well, if I want to, let's say I was getting overrun, and I said, oh no, I need you know, some support here. I could just kind of come up here you know, maybe retreat back, clog this area with a few grunts, and then this cannon tower is going to upgrade and basically just keep this area clogged or walling it off, build some walls, and then you're going to be able to fend yourself off. So as you're defending your base, always try and build with the consideration that you can kind of move back in your defense. You know, if you just kind of randomly place your buildings everywhere without any thought, you know, you're going to run into situations where, like, you know, I don't know, let's say, you know, some things to consider, like, let's say I put a lumber mill right here. Well, it seems fine, right? But now the problem is, if I want to send some units over here, I've blocked my own way to get around. I mean, let's say I put a farm up here, I've pretty much walled off half of my base, right? And now I can't get units over here, which we'll see. There's a gold mine here, and this is something else to consider when you're building. Consider your surroundings. So if you've got a gold mine over here, I could have gone all the way around and built a town hall right here, or even over here, but it's going to be a little farther away from the gold mine than I'd want it to be. But not only that, it's going to be exposed because I've got all this defense in my base, right? Like, I've got this choke point set up. So take the most advantage of your defenses as you can. If you've invested in towers, you know, units and choke points, and you've got, you know, some strategic building placements, then, you know, you can capitalize on those by doing something like this, where instead of me building my hall over here and being completely exposed, I'm literally just going to chop these trees out, and then I can mine this gold mine. And if I'm careful, I can leave these tree lines to keep it walled off. And so I've got basically an expansion that's already defended. I don't have to, you know, do anything extra, and it's within my base. So just something to consider. Now, I was talking about how this is the best gold mine, and part of the reason I mentioned is because it's facing the left. And as we're discussing with the grunt popping out, your units are always going to pop out up here, and they're going to go counterclockwise around your building. But with your town hall, I mean, it's always going to start up here. This space here is very close to the mine, so that means every time you make a peon, you just fling it into your gold mine. It doesn't have to walk all the way around your town hall. It just goes right in. So that's also going to shave, you know, seconds over the course of a game on collecting gold. So with that in mind, and we're looking over here, so let's say you've got a position like this, or it's kind of wide open. So let's say you want to make a town hall to access the gold here. So you've kind of got two options here. Well, really three. You could put it way up here, you could put it down here, or you could put it over here. So where do you think the best place to put it would be? I'm going to tell you, it's going to be right here, and the reason is what we just discussed. So the aforementioned fact that your units are always going to pop out here, which means they're very close to that gold mine. So this is also a fast mining base, so you can just whip them right in there. Whereas if I put it over here, I'd have to go, okay guys, you know, head over to the gold mine there, and you'd have to run the distance to your town hall to get over there. It's a minor thing, but it's just something to keep in mind. Now, the other factor of why it's probably a better idea to put your hall here too is that this has a choke point with a road running through it, just like this position does over here. So the farther back you are, the farther away from your opponent you are, the more time you have to recover and build units. So like if I've got a barracks, let's say I've got a barracks over here, and I'll just bring a few workers over, kind of demonstrate this. So, I mean, there's two lines of thought here. So number one, if you're being offensive, you actually want to be closer to your opponent. But so let's say you have two barracks here, and your opponent runs in, and they caught you off guard, and you don't have many units. All right, so, well, first of all, they can just come in here and immediately go for your production and just start attacking these barracks. And you might have a grunt building to, you know, kind of fend them off here. But basically that grunt, you know, if it was being built back here, let's say, then these grunts now have to travel a little bit farther to get to that grunt, which gives that grunt a little bit more time to pop back. And not only that, but you can actually then take that grunt, and because he's closer to your town hall, you can retreat him into your gold mine. So what that does is when you're attacking an enemy and you've got a bunch of peons mining gold, you know, and let's say you run in here and I've only got one grunt. Let's say you've got two, and you're coming in to attack me here. Well, now your grunts are going to be attacking these peons, and their attack priority is not going to focus exactly just right on my grunt. So it's possible in that instance. And what I can also do is actually start using my workers to attack to help my grunt. So it puts you basically in a better defensive position when you've got your grunts or your barracks closer to your town hall. So anyway, just something to keep in mind. So here's another example where, so this is the 3 o'clock position on this map. It's a pretty popular expanding location. So this map, it's got 60k gold mines, except for 11. This is got 65k. Well, it did at one point. Anyway, so this is one of those mines where, okay, so you're going to take this mine. You might be down here. You might be over here. You could be anywhere, and you decide you want to take this base. And chances are it's going to be far away from, you know, your barracks or your main forces, right? So what you basically want to do here is you want to protect this base as best as you can with as little resources as possible. And usually in that instance, it's going to be with a cannon tower. So as you can see here, we've got this neat little square here next to our town hall. So we're going to take advantage of the tree line here, and we're going to put a tower right in there. And then I'm actually going to put a, let's say, I could put a farm here, and then I could put another one here. Farms aren't that, I mean, they're good for defending, but if I put a farm here and I put a farm here, you know, chances are if they've got some ogres, they'll be able to kind of burst through that with their ogres without taking too much damage from my tower. So probably a better way of defending this is, well, there's a few things you could do. You could do the farm thing and actually put another layer of farms, which might be a good idea. But what you may also want to consider doing here is actually just putting a barracks, which has more hit points, and it also allows you to create units, of course. And then what you could do here is you could put your farm here. So now you've got kind of like a flat line here. So the attacking units can't get as much exposure to attack your buildings. So like if let's say for example, let's say I just had a wall up here and I just had this barracks, right? So yeah, it's a barracks, and we'll just ignore the wall for a second and just assume that they're gonna go ahead and attack this barracks. They can attack this barracks from 9 different areas, because it's a 3x3, right? So you got 3 spots here, then you've got the diagonal spots. So there's 3, 6, and 9. So they could fit 9 units around this, which would tear this down in a short amount of time. Now, if I put a farm here, now they only have 5 spots. So you've actually limited how many units can attack this barracks by 4, which is quite significant. You know, and again, if you can at any point try and build things where you can actually repair them from the back. And I mean, this isn't probably a great example of that, but whatever. Anyway, so we'll go down here and we'll actually look at this spot on the map and kind of consider, you know, how we could make, how we would want to build from here. Okay, so first of all, you've got your gold mine here in your town hall, right? And then you've got kind of this big open area, you know, that leads into your map. So when you have a big area like this leading into your map, you're going to want to basically use every single building that you're building to create a big wall, because you do not want to have an open base. Anytime you can wall your base off or even just limit it where there's only a small entrance area, that's your objective when you're placing your buildings. And of course, you also want to have some other considerations like, okay, so let's say I put a tower here, right? Okay, so let's just say we're going to wall off with 2 barracks, right? So, all right, with 3 buildings, we've walled off this huge area. Now, also with this wall off, as you can see here, my grunts are going to pop up outside of my base. Now, if I were to actually have built this, well, if I were to have built this 2 spots down here to line up with this, all of my units would actually pop out on the inside of my base, which sometimes you might want to do, let's say if you're building a catapult. So as it stands right now, I'm building this catapult, it's going to pop out on the outside of my base here. So if I actually want to just wall off here, and a lot of times this is what people will do, is they'll have a barracks or 2 barracks. One of them is basically going to grunts out, and the other one's gonna pump out an inside defensive unit like a catapult. So before this catapult finishes, I need to block these 2 spaces off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna build a farm right here. So now when this catapult pops out, I forced it to actually pop out on the inside of my base. So now if somebody decides to put a tower here, let's say to attack me, well, I can just go ahead and, you know, I've got the defenses for it. I've also got this catapult as a mobile defensive unit will be able to kill any attacking grunts or footmen or whatnot that are coming in and trying to attack the front of my base. So now what I can do is I can actually, I've got a home defensive unit, and I can also keep making grunts on the outside, and I can also keep making grunts on the inside, and then I can chop out by just chopping this tree, and that's going to open this up so that my grunts can now run out onto the outside. So you can kind of use this building placements to trick your enemy into not really knowing what you're planning to do. So in this case, they might think, okay, well, he's going to power, like he's invested into a catapult, right? And now all of a sudden I've got these grunts, and I can bring out my catapult, and then my opponent might be just kind of caught on his heels here because he might just have stopped producing units, assuming I wasn't going on the offensive. But I've actually made a very effective offensive strategy here without sacrificing anything, while also giving myself an early defensive advantage in an exposed position. Because a lot of times you are going to have positions where, you know, your gold mine is close to, let's say, a tree line like this where people can throw up towers. But not only that, they're on the left-hand side, so we're talking about the, tower bug. So, well, actually, in this case, the tower bug would work in your favor. You could put a tower here, and it would basically take advantage of any towers they wanted to put here. But on the other side of that, let's say they put a cannon tower down here. Well, you have nowhere to put a tower that's going to be close enough to actually attack that, short of, you know, right in the middle of your gold mine pretty much, which you don't want to do. But anyway, the whole point is that having an early catapult in exposed areas like this can be good, and it also doesn't really require you to make too much of a commitment outside of course needing a blacksmith and a lumber mill early. But that's only going to really benefit you and your economy, and your grunt production is not going to be very fast early in the game. But again, you're compensated by having the catapult, so your grunt production doesn't need to be very high. You can start cranking them out later, or you can just go ahead and power, but you've got that kind of flexibility where it can kind of jump back and forth. So another consideration here is, let me see here. I'm just going to show you a couple other things here. So another consideration is, okay, so this isn't probably very common, but sometimes you run into these circumstances where, okay, so you can see you've got this big road here, and you've got your gold mine here, and yeah, so this is kind of like a notorious position in Garden of War at 8 o'clock, where you can build your town hall here, but obviously it should be here. So if you build it up here, you're basically like, what is that, 4 spots away. So you're way too far away from your gold mine. You can do that, and you can long mine, but I mean, yeah, you probably don't want to do that. So what you would probably want to do instead is, if you notice here, I can almost build it here, which would be as close as it could possibly get, but there's one little forest or tree here blocking my way. So what I'll do is I can actually just chop that out, and then once I've chopped this one piece of wood out, now all of a sudden I've created a position for my town hall. And so you can kind of apply that to really anything in this game. And a lot of what makes Warcraft 2 such a great game is that you've got all this creativity, and you can manipulate the terrain around you to your advantage. And so with that, one other thing to consider here too. So let's say we're, and this is actually a small gold mine. This would be somewhere you would actually expand to. You know, if you were at 8 o'clock, a lot of people, they'll just say, oh, I don't want to waste my time chopping this little, piece of tree out, because number one, it takes time, but number two, all you're left with is a base that has a road running directly through it that is hard to defend. So this isn't a great kind of starting location. But if you were to basically expand here, you'd probably want to do that. Or you might just want to do that just to trick your opponents, because most opponents realize that people don't stay here. So sometimes you can play mind games with your opponents where, you know, and that all comes with, like, you know, being very familiar with certain maps. And yeah, so that's kind of more kind of advanced stuff. But Anyway, so let's say you're up here and you've decided you want to expand here. Now, one thing to consider too is like, okay, so if you have like, so I can wall this base off a few different ways. So I could come down here, I could put a barracks there, and then I could put, you know, a farm there, or, you know, whatever, a barracks back here. I probably wouldn't want to do that because it's a bit of a pain, because they could then now attack me here and also here, and I have a long way between these two areas to defend it. And obviously I don't want to waste a tower putting it here in some obscure part of the map just to protect a, you know, section of my base. So a lot of times what you want to do is kind of consider your surroundings and say, well, it's a lot easier if I actually just kind of come way back here and I can just wall this off, because I've already got a town hall here. Take advantage of my own town hall. I'll build a farm here, and actually what I'll do is I can build another farm here, so that'll wall this off completely, right? But what I've done is I've mined a sack of gold here, right? And I'll show you why I did that. Because if I had just built this farm and I didn't have a sack of gold in it, my peon is going to pop out here on the top left of this farm. And then all of a sudden I've got a peon outside of my base. And you may want that, or you may not. But if you're trying to be very economical and you want to kind of maximize how many workers you have, you can use a little trick like this where I can still actually get into my gold mine down here. Because you can return anywhere around a town hall, you can return resources. So if I go ahead and I just click on my town hall, all of a sudden that peon is back mining gold. So yeah, he's no longer stuck outside of my base. And yeah, so again, another advantage of this position here is I have an exposed area here where you could put a tower over here, and because you're on the right, you actually do benefit from the tower bug. So if I were to put a tower here, this tower, even though I have the tower bug working against me, by having a tower here, I will be able to defend my front and this and my gold flow. So if someone were breaking down here, so this tower basically covers 3 different fronts, and like, you know, with that too. So let's say someone broke in down here, so I've got this tower. So, you know, let's say they blow up this farm with a sapper and they run their units in. What is your response going to be? Your initial response might be to try and wall back in immediately. So you might want to put a barracks back in where they've blown that up. If that fails, you want to kind of retreat back, and then I might put a barracks right here. So now this tower actually wouldn't quite reach because it's only a guard tower. I probably would have made a cannon tower, but anyway, now this tower can basically defend this. We'll just move this back, and let's say they killed our barracks. Now we're like, oh no, we need to keep moving back. So now I'll put a farm here. So the idea is basically leaving space in your base so that you can continually build units to kind of retreat back as you're being attacked, because that's part of the strategy of the game. Because there are times that you're going to get run over by units, but the difference between a good player and a great player is a great player can get run over and still hang on for dear life and still stick around. Because even if you've lost, you know, especially like, let's say you're playing a team game and let's say your ally's doing really well and you're doing bad. Well, in this particular case, you know, you can just distract the enemies from your ally, which lets them get stronger. So a lot of winning in Warcraft 2 is a matter of, you know, basically trying to, you know, take up the time and effort of your enemies, especially in team games, and that way it gives your allies a better benefit. And that also comes in with more strategy, where when you are playing team games, especially if you've got, you know, uneven players, knowing who you're playing against becomes a big thing as well, because you might know, okay, you might be playing against the best player in the world and he's got like 2 newbie allies. Well, you're obviously going to want to kill the best player in the world, because you know that those 2 newbie allies, no matter what you do, you'll be able to eventually go back in and kill those guys. But that top players, if you leave him alone, you know you're going to be in trouble. Anyway, so yeah, I think that pretty much covers most of everything I wanted to talk about. Actually, one other thing I want to mention here too is, so let's say there's certain maps in this game, and I was talking about in my last video how, you know, how much gold you have in your gold mine is a factor, and I was saying how, you know, 20k is like tier 1, 40k tier 2, and then 60k tier 3. But sometimes you're going to play maps like one called aptly named gold mines, where your gold mine actually doesn't have a lot of gold in it, and there's a lot of them. And in those cases, you probably don't even want to build a town hall at every gold mine. In fact, you don't. You want a long mine, so you don't always, just something to consider here, but you don't always have to have a town hall at a gold mine as close as it can be. And like, we'll use the middle here, for example. So here you can see there's 4 gold mines, and now these gold mines actually do have a lot of gold in them. So yeah, they've got 50,000 each. So in this case, you would actually want to have 4 town halls close to each one of these mines. But let's say you're playing a map where these only have, let's say, 10,000 gold. In that case, it would make more sense to just build 1 town hall, and then you can send all your workers to the 4 different mines. And by doing this, you're basically minimizing your costs on town halls, and you also get a little bit of flexibility as far as being attacked. You know, if somebody's, let's say, got a tower over here and it's shooting at, or we'll use this area for an example. Let's say someone builds a tower here and it's killing your gold flow workers. Well, in that case, you can just move them over here, right? You know, so things like that. But again, this is all situational, but just something to consider, right? So, all right. Yeah, so I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about on this kind of map here. So what I'm actually going to do finally here is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to actually create a multiplayer game. And actually, I might even just join one here. I got a game going. See if they'll let me play. Okay, so I'm playing Mud in Your Eye. So I got a multiplayer game here. And anyway, so we're playing against a whole bunch of folks here. So U8, he's a really big community guy. He's got a stream, it's quite popular, and so he hosts a lot of games. So basically, I'm just going to kind of talk to you guys about a game here as I'm playing it. So yeah. First thing I've done here, I've got my town hall. So we've got a, I haven't shown you guys this yet, but this is the Orc Swamp Tileset. I don't like this, the way it looks actually, but anyway, yeah, so here I've got 3 allies. So this is a 4-on-4, guys, and we'll see how this goes. So unfortunately, U8's on the other team, which is probably not good for me, but we can go ahead and we'll hit F10, and so you'll see in the menu here, we've actually got an alliances menu. So here you can actually ally people, but it's going to default you in the main lobby there. I picked team 2, so I've got these 3 allies here: Volcano, Strices, and Rexcore, and we're against Zenther, U8, Rex, and Rust. Anyway, so I'm going to actually, I can kind of see here. I'm not too familiar with it, but I've got, and these mushroom looking things are actually trees. Oh yeah, I kind of remember this map now. So this map has kind of like a long winding path up to your base, and then I think you have to chop. I think there's a gold mine like behind your tree somewhere. I think mine actually might be here. So anyway, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually just rush. So I'm going to start off. Actually, I'm just going to look over here and make sure. Yeah, so there's a tree line there. I think there's a gold mine in there, so I'm going to kind of leave that space open for a lumber mill. And yeah, I'm actually... No, I don't think I'm really going to push my rush here. I think I'm just going to get a lumber mill really early here and maybe get a guard tower just to kind of defend myself a bit. And I'll probably make a few... yeah, I think I'm just going to wall off really quick. So, you know, in my video there, I was showing you how at the 11th position, I had kind of a lumber mill and then a tower that was slightly exposed. So I'm basically doing the same build here because I'm not, basically, if anyone goes to attack me here, they're not going to be able to get in right away. So, yeah, I'm just going to keep making peons and farms. That's a big thing in the game here. And so my lumber mill's done. Now, I'm going to do something kind of cheeky here. So I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my shields. That's the first thing I'm going to do there. So I've got, oh, there he goes. Yeah, so I've got a peon here, and I'm making some, let's see. Alright, so there is somebody. That's my ally. Never mind. Crazy guys. Yeah, so I'm just trying to think. I'm going to do something kind of cheeky in this game. Gold mine. Keep making some peons. And I'm actually going to build a catapult just right off the bat. And this might come back to bite me in the butt here, but I'm gonna see what happens. So I'm gonna keep my peon up here just with my grunt. And okay, so come up there. Let's see. It's pretty good on farms for a minute here, so I'm just gonna keep pumping out units. Gonna hit level 3. And I'm gonna do a little cheeky strategy here. Which I should skip. Waiting for my catapult to come out. Oh. Okay, so there's a lot of footmen there. Okay, so actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to wall this off. And as you can see here, I'm using my catapult as a defensive unit, and no one can kill him because I've got a farm here. Now, because this is here and this is walling this off, my grunts can now pop out there. So I'm going to start pumping out some grunts there, and I'm going to start chopping some wood, and then I'm going to let's see what's going on here. I hear some action. Okay, so red's rushing pretty good. Purple's got some towers there, and yeah, so he's walled off with some farms. And anyway, so I don't know why he's here, but let's see. Let's get back up, make some more workers. Some more peons for chopping. I'm actually just going to go ahead and upgrade. So I don't think these guys are actually rushing very hard.
Your command, master.
So I'm not sure. I might have miscalculated the situation here a bit. I feel like they're powering. But I don't know. We'll see. Now, I really want to get my hold upgraded here as soon as possible, so I've really got a lot of peons chopping wood here, and I've got, you can see 24, 29 food, so I'm good on food for a while. I'm going to hit level 4, and I've got a half-decent army of grunts here now. Actually, I don't want my catapult really stuck in there anymore, so I'm actually going to chop them out here. And yes, I'm going to go hold. Let's put another farm there, and yeah, so sometimes you make decisions and then you regret them. Anyway, so yeah, there's not too much going on in this game. Everything's pretty quiet so far. Let me see, this guy's getting attacked here, so actually I might go down and reinforce him, and let's see if we can bust through there. Yeah, so we'll go ahead. Actually, I might just hang back. I don't think they need my help there. Let's stay there for now. Okay. Anyway, purple. I don't know if you realize that's there. Okay, so anyway, I've got a ogre mount here now, and let's see. Okay, yeah, red went down and cleaned that up. I'm gonna just kind of hang back here. Yeah, so you can see he's got knights at me here. Wall off, buddy. Oh, that's not good. I guess I'm gonna go backdoor black, because I don't think I can help red. Yeah, he's got too many knights there. And as I'm doing that, I need to hit fortress. Now I need to get some ogres out, because I'm obviously kind of behind here. And trying to control this army, not going very well. Alright, so I'm just gonna go ahead and... He's kind of walled off there. Okay, I'm gonna chop out of this. Alright, actually Red's doing fine. Yeah, so actually my team's alright. Got a couple fortresses, and then he's at stronghold with I don't know why he's got like a bunch of level 6 berserkers, but that works. So now he's putting a tower up there. And anyway, let's see here. Okay, so I've got fortress now, so I really need to be hitting my altar storms here. Sorry, I'm not doing too well. I gotta, not to make excuses, but I got a microphone right in front of my keyboard. I can barely hit my keys. I never make excuses though. If you watch my other episode 8, part 3, you'll see that I never make excuses when I play these games. Anyway, so my grunts are doing some work down there. I'm gonna run away, so I'll kill him. Can get him. There's a handful of grunts down here. I don't know what he's got. I'm just gonna go ahead and... Alright, let's see here. I got altar storms done. Get some chopping done. Hit level 5. Okay, so he's obviously got a lot there to protect him. And yeah, anyway. Stupid flying machine. I hate flying machines. So I don't really like how my base is laid out here. Might still not chopped out of here. Okay. So in a lot of cases I could actually just kill my own tower there, but alright, so actually that was great. My ally's doing some good work there. Okay, so now
what is it? Work complete. Yes, master.
See what's going on here.
We're ready, master. What is it?
I might actually just go clean somebody up here now that I've got bloodlust, or at least try to. Get some runes as well.
What?
Chopping out there.
Yes, master. Of course. Yes, master.
I don't know if it'd be smart to attack in there.
We're ready, master. Yes, master.
Actually go for black.
We're ready, master.
So we're out of farms. The temple.
Yes, master. Yes, master. Right away.
Okay, so I'm gonna see what I'm up against here. So yeah, send an I have killrogg in your base. See what you're up against. Yeah, I think I can just... I'm actually just gonna run right into this guy's base and kill him.
Right away. Yes, master.
I don't think he has a Temple of the Damned, or if he does. So basically, I'm just gonna run right in here. I'll lust up. Break through this farm. And with any luck, so yeah, try to get all the exposed area on the farm here. Okay, so he's got an army here. So as you can see here, I'm just holding ground because I've got an advantage. Actually, I need to bring the rest down here. Yeah, so this guy should be cooked. Stay away from the blizzard. Anyway, as I'm doing that, get back to my base here, get my Death Knight. So always make your Death Knight first so you can build up that mana. And yeah, so I'm gonna always, when you're killing an opponent's base, it's usually a good idea just to go ahead and kill his town hall or fortress or whatnot first. That way he has no chance of coming back. So once this fortress is dead, I'm basically just gonna, actually might send some workers down here and take his gold mines. He's still got about 20,000 gold in there. And in these larger games, it's kind of a war of attrition. You know, you get a lot of players and not that many gold mines, so the more efficient you can be, the better. So I've got my Death Knight now. I'm going to get Death Coil, and I don't even remember if there's a gold mine over there, or anyway, we'll find out. And actually, another benefit of killrogg is you don't need to get flying machines, so I can look over here. So there's a mine there, and I'm pretty sure there's a mine right here. We'll see if my eye lasts long enough to tell me. Yep, perfect. So there's 50,000 in there, yeah. So, all right. Yeah, so white's dead. I think yellow is the next target here, or maybe black. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna try and get my Death Knight down here, actually. Some more ogres. The fun thing with team games too is, like, I'm not playing very good obviously here, but you know, you got some buffer room, and yeah, I still want to chop my catapult hit there. So anyway, usually I'll send, like, if you got a weak unit, or like a unit you don't even really care if they're alive, they're usually good good to send in first.
I
don't know what he's got in here.
We're being attacked.
Actually, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, so here he's chasing down my Death Knight. He's gonna hide behind my ogres, and I'm actually just gonna go all in on this guy. Run away from that blizzard though. So while he's doing that, when you're dealing with blizzard, it's always good to try and send in a few units at a time to avoid. As you can see, my runes already paid off the 1,000 I spent on it there.
Yes, master. Yes, master. Of course.
So I'm gonna keep beating on this guy.
Yes, of course.
So my Death Knight and bring in some reinforcements here.
Right away, yes, master.
I've got him on the run.
Yes.
Don't want where he's dead.
We're being attacked.
What? Yes, master. Right away.
Being attacked.
Yes, master.
Make it happen.
We're ready, master. What? Yes, master. Yes, of course. Of course. Right away. Of course. Yes, master.
Of course. Very good. Very good.
Right away. Of course. Right away. Right away. Of course.
See, I'm doing some pretty good damage here.
Yes, master. Of course. Of course.
Yes. Very well. Make it quick.
Anyway, red's taking my. I guess red's dead. What is yellow? Okay, yellow's way up there for some reason. Yeah, so my workers have all been killed. So yellow's seems to be killing everybody. Should probably refocus on him, but I think I gotta finish off black here. And actually gonna. Anyone take? Yeah, he's taking that.
What is it? Right away.
Yellow's breaking in. Oh, I see. Okay, so
Of course.
as you can see here, he's about to blow the crap out of my base.
Of course, right? Of course. Of course.
So with that in mind,
Ready, master. What? Yes, right away. Right away. Of course. Yes, master. What? Right away. Yes, master.
yeah. So this guy's messing with me now.
Very well. Make it
Ready, master. Ready, master. Of course. Right away. Yes, master. What? Yes, master.
Why Bliss still stuck in there? Okay, where is my pianos? Get him chopping down there. He's just stranded. Okay, so we got.
Ready, master. Yes. Yes, master. Yes. Yes, master. Right away. Right away. Yes, master.
So he's kind of walling me off there with the Barracks.
Yes. Yes, master. Yes, master. Of course. Right away. Yes,
So I'm gonna go ahead and send a bunch of ogres in.
Yes, of course. Yes, right away. Right away. Right away. Of course. Of course. Right away. Right away. What? Of course. Of course.
Yes.
Yes, master.
This guy's having fun blowing the crap out of my base.
Yes, master. Right away. Right away.
But the good news is,
Ready, master.
oh,
Yes.
I don't have an ogre man anymore.
Yes, master.
What else don't I have? I don't have much for farms. I don't have a fortress either, do I?
Of course.
Well, that's really annoying.
What? Yes, master. Yes, master. Yes, master.
Anyway, at this point, I'm just kind of hoping my allies can
Yes,
have another rescue here.
Yes, master. Of course, master. Yes, master. Right away. Yes, master.
He exercised the skeletons. I like that. Yeah. So here he's going to try and blow up my town hall, but he's not going to get away with it. Actually, I guess he does.
What is it? Yes, master. Yes, master. Right away.
Yeah, so I don't understand why Yellow's messing with me so much.
Of course.
So I'm looking around, and things aren't looking so hot. Yeah, I think we're dead. Alright, so I'm going to leave that game. Yeah, so we got our butts kicked there. And, yeah. Somehow somebody let Yellow off the leash there. He had like 3 bases, but yeah. So this is one of those examples where I was like, I probably should have focused on Yellow, and we would have won, but anyway, yeah, so, geez, 150 kills. Pretty crazy. Anyway, yeah, so that was a fun game, guys. And yeah, so I'll see how I can piece that into my tutorial here. All right, guys. So basically, this section here, we're going to be talking about neighbor wars. So when I say neighbor wars, what I mean is that you've got a hostile enemy that's right next to you in the game. And so the game it really evolves a lot in terms of strategy when you've got somebody right next to you, especially when you're playing on high resources here, because it's just an all-out war. You're really trying to just kill your opponent as soon as possible. And so instead of your kind of typical, build orders where you might put up a barracks, start working on an economical build, you're really just kind of going all out here. You've got your first farm that gives you enough units, enough farm production for 5 peons. And a lot of times when you know that you've got a neighbor, in which case I do know that I have a neighbor, you're just going in there and you're flinging peons everywhere and you're building like a madman, as you can see here. I've repaired a lumber mill knowing that I'm going to be throwing up some guard towers here. So you basically want to juggle defending your own base and attacking your opponent's base. And at the end of that, it's whoever comes out on top. Whoever's got better building placement and whoever's, won fights with opposing peons. So you get into a lot of peon fights. So as you can see here, purple has 3 towers outside of my base. I've got 1 in his base, and he's put up a tower to kind of, conflict with mine. However, because he's got 3 of his peons over at my base, and I've killed 1 of those, and as he's doing that, he's attacking one of my towers because he realizes that the outside tower is going to be the one that's going to make the difference here. So I send my 2 worker units back to repair it. His 2 towers upgrade, or 3 towers upgrade, as 2 of my 3 do. And he's got a third, or I've got a third, but it's kind of delayed here. Anyway, so he takes a little hack at my tower, and so one of my towers goes down, and I put out another peon there. Had he gotten into that tower to be able to repair it, I might, well, actually, I think I may have still lost here, but in any event, this is kind of like a, so you can see he's got 3 towers outside of my base, so I'm toast, I'm dead. And this happens very quickly here. Now, he's also dead. However, his towers can reach all of my units. My tower cannot reach all of his units. So it's kind of a double KO here, which is kind of rare to see. But, if in a one-on-one game, you're left to your own devices here, in which case, just by virtue of him being able to survive long enough to kill my buildings, I'm going to lose. So here's another example here. And so I've built a farm kind of just over and to the right of my town hall here, just kind of in the middle of nowhere there, because it's going to position my peon as I'm continue moving it to my base here, closer to him, so that I can go in and do something here. So I decide I'm going to actually show you guys a different variation here. I'm going to put up my mill. Now, I put that into a position where I can kind of use it to wall off. As you see there, I put a farm underneath it there. So I'm pretty close to having my base completely walled off here. But as you're going to see, I don't actually do that. I decide I'm going to opt and go repair my lumber mill. I could have walled off and stopped him from actually jumping into my base. But he gets in there and he puts a barracks between my gold mine and my town hall. And that's going to basically limit my gold production. So I'm playing a little bit more defensive in this case. So I go ahead and I put up a guard tower there. Now all these peons, because I've trapped my own peons in here, which wasn't very smart, and I put up another tower there, because anytime you get raxed, you want to at least have 2 towers. So I go ahead and decide to rax him back here. Now that probably wasn't very smart. I probably should have actually built a cannon tower there, or a guard tower inside of his gold mine. But as you can see here, I kind of wall the rest of his units off with the farm here, as I use all my worker units to attack that barracks. And anyway, so I decide, okay, I'm going to actually put up a blacksmith here as I'm getting attacked. So I'm trying to kill his peon here. I kill that. And yeah, so I'm just hacking away at his barracks here. Meanwhile, he's putting towers in outside of my base. So I'm actually building walls, you can see here, with my peasants as they're being attacked, just to give them a little bit longer of a lifespan here. But as those 2 towers finish, my peasants are both gonna die there. So I put up another wall there anyway, and you can see he's kind of trying to chop into my base here.
So I'm going to survive this as both of his towers eventually go down there. And you can see how my barracks wasn't positioned properly, where it's not blocking his gold production. So he can get away with only having one tower there to kill that barracks. And it's not doing too much. So it wasn't a very smart placement for my barracks. Anyway, so here I'm just attacking those his barracks in my gold mine, because until that barracks is dead, as you can see, I've pretty much trapped all of my worker units inside of my own base. As I'm doing that, he smartly puts a tower outside of the range of my tower, or at least to the point where he can still safely repair it because of the the aforementioned tower bug. Now he's actually got a positional advantage on that too. So anyway, so I decided I'm going to send all my worker units out there to take care of his peons here and hopefully kill that tower as I kill his second peon there. But his tower's hacking away at my peons here as I run back to my gold mine. But yeah, so anyway, as you can see here, he's taking out my peons. His tower eventually does die, but here I am. I've got 200 gold and no peons, so I'm dead. He's won. So yeah, these games can go very quick. So here in another example, I actually do this similar build, although this time I more smartly put my farm a little bit farther down. And as you can see, there's only one space between that right-sided farm and my town hall, going all the way down and around my town hall. That's going to eliminate him from being able to completely wall off that bottom space, because hypothetically, you could put if that farm was let's say up by the gold mine, you could actually have put a farm there right next to my town hall, walled that off, and then also put a barracks at the top, and then completely walled off all of my worker units that pop out on the top left of my town hall to the left side of my base, in which case he would have just had an easy win there. So anyway, in this case, I'm again going in with a lumber mill. And yeah, keep in mind that I know I've got and we both realize that we've got neighbors here, and you can deduce that basically in games where you might be playing a 4-on-4 and your ally's not next to you, so you just safely assume that your enemy is, in which case you can use these strategies. As I send 3 worker units over into his base here and I attack, I take out one of his peons. If you can get a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 on a peon, as I wall in his base here with some towers, and I decide to cancel one and put it back in a little bit deeper there to make sure he's actually walled off. But while I'm doing that, he's already put in a defensive tower here, so he's already and he has the tower bug advantage as well. So yeah, anyway, and he returns back with a couple of his worker units. I build a wall there just to kind of avoid that, but my peon dies there as I basically fail to go back into his base here. So anyway, as I'm doing all this, I've put my tower underneath my lumber mill, which is a terrible position. I should have put it right next to my gold mine, which would have stopped what he's actually done here. So you can see that he's essentially towered in my gold mine as my gold flow workers are dying here. He's walled that off with the barracks. Now, the only way I can actually recover from this, and honestly at this point I've pretty much already lost the game because of bad decisions that I've made. So you can see how these neighbor wars, they just come in hard and fast. And anyway, so I'm repairing barracks, and I've also got a blacksmith, because the only thing you can do at this point is get a catapult. Now I have 1,500 gold left here, so I can actually go ahead and do that. So I've got 5 peasants. I'm repairing my blacksmith, and then immediately I'm going to make a ballista here. So as I do that, I can't safely mine gold. So actually what I'm going to do, I decided to throw a farm up next to my gold mine just to kind of test if I can actually mine somewhat safely here. Because sometimes you can block where your peons or peasants are going to block out of your gold mine as I build another wall there. And that limits the amount of damage the towers are going to do, because your peasants or your peons are going to be mining closer to town hall and farther away from that damage. But despite that, his tower can still reach my peons or my peasants as they're mining here. However, he's not to the same extent that they could, so I'm taking less damage, and I realize that all my peasants are about to die. So while I'm waiting for my gold mine to be freed up, while I'm waiting for my ballista, I'm actually just going to get my peasants to chop wood, because they might as well be doing something. And anyway, so here we can see that I get my ballista out, and I finally take out that guard tower. Now, my only saving grace here in this game so far is the fact that as my farm dies there, is that he's actually built a decent amount of infrastructure around those towers. And because I've got a guard tower and now my ballista, he can't really do much about that here. So I take out both of his towers. So now I can safely send my units back into the gold mine. And my ballista's just going to sit there and bomb away on his barracks and that farm there. So that gives me a little bit of hope that I might be able to come back in this game. But at this point, I am behind because he's just made better decisions during the initial neighbor war that we had here. So as you can see, I want to put that farm back there because it actually speeds up my gold flow production. So I do that, and anyway, so as I'm doing that, I realize I'm actually farm blocked, so I'm 9 of 9 on farm, so I'm going to go ahead and repair that farm, and this game's going to keep progressing from this point forward. But like I say, keep in mind, I've already fallen behind. Now, in a one-on-one, I'm basically dead. I might have even surrendered by this point. But if you're playing a team game and you run into a deficit like this, you know, it's still worth your time to stick around because your opponent, you know, your allies might come and help you. As you can see here, while he's been doing this, he's actually gone ahead and he's created his own catapult, which is now attack grounding into my gold flow. And luckily for me, he hasn't actually taken any of my units there yet, just due to bad timing. But anyway, so I here now have my my ballista here patrolling back and forth, hoping to engage his catapult as he's attacking my worker units here. Now he gets a shot in here, and you can see my ballista misfires, and that's because there's a bug with human ballistas, which I've mentioned in other videos, where essentially if you issue a command to it while it's attacking, it's going to shoot a blank. Anyway, so its testosterone levels just drop immediately. And anyway, so I decide, okay, well, he's killing my worker units. I'm going to go over here and attack his. So I'm able to take out some wood choppers here. But I mean, yeah, like I said, he's ahead of me here, and he's chopping down my gold mine workers. And in the meantime, I'm basically using my footmen here to kind of decide what to do. So he's got a walled in base here with a guard tower, and anyway, so I guess part of the point of this is that, you know, these little initial battles with towers, they don't always end right at the start. They evolve, right? And you know, depending on how much damage you've taken, as you can see, he's got this barracks walled off here, and he's got that position where, yeah, as you can see where that catapult pops off, because there's a little piece of wood in the top left there where he's got it walled off. So that's going to pop his units in on the inside, and I do get one shot in on that, but of course he has 2 catapults, and 2 against 1 is always better. And so my ballista goes down, and meanwhile I'm trying to kind of just juggle my my footmen back and forth here, trying to avoid any damages I'm attacking there, and that only goes so far. You can only micro your units so much against something like that. But anyway, so yeah, so I've got my army of footmen here, and anyway, this game kind of goes on, and I eventually lose, but we'll just kind of leave it at that. So that kind of gives you an idea of, you know, what to do in neighbor wars. So essentially, you know, the idea is really, you know, you want to put towers in a place that's going to damage your opponent and you know, hurt their long-term survival, and minimizing their ability to do that to you. And you're going to do that through attacking their worker units, attacking their towers, contemplating, you know, where their towers are, if factoring in the tower bug, and then, you know, just there's a lot of things to consider basically, but this should give you an idea of at least, you know, where to start off with this stuff. So anyway, hopefully you've learned a little bit like that, but really most of what you're going to learn with this is through trial and error. So yeah, anyway, so that's that. All right, guys, I think I've finished this episode 2, the basics of warfare continued. Man, it's been a long one, guys. You know, hopefully you appreciate this. If you do, like and subscribe to the channel. If you don't, you've probably not been listening to this. Anyway, I don't really care, but I do want people to know how to play Warcraft 2, and that's my goal. So I hope I've helped you in that